Hello, I'm Toycat, and today I wanted to rank every single mob in Minecraft. But first, we need to know the question of how many mobs are there in Minecraft? And that's actually a pretty hard question to answer because it depends on what you count as a mob. But if we count all of the used mobs, so nothing that's been removed or that's just sitting in the game code, then we get 69 mobs. Yes, really. And we're going to be ranking from bottom to top, and we're going to be going based on how much I like them as a player, but also how much I like the game design. One would be the perfect mob design that I wish we could see in every single update, and 69 would be the sort of thing that leaves a bad taste in your mouth after you experience it. So with that said, let's go straight into the 69th mob on my list, and I know you all see this one coming, but we have to mention the Phantom is the worst mob in Minecraft. I went through every single other mob to try and think of a worse mob design, but no, the Phantom is a mob that actively detracts from the game in so many ways. First of all, obviously it's the fact that you have to go to sleep every 3 days. It's a fun enough mechanic for single player, you might argue, except you wouldn't actually argue because it's always very annoying. But if you're playing a multiplayer, you just can't sleep and phantoms spawn constantly, and they have some of the most annoying attacks, so you can't just get rid of them. No, you have to wait for them to fly into you, and then, it's a whole thing. But even ignoring that, you might think, oh, well, phantoms are cool because you get phantom membranes, which is how you repair the elytra, and you like repairing your elytras, except no, this is contrived game design. They took something away from us, the ability to repair elytras using a readily available ingredient, the leather, and then they gave it to the phantoms, meaning the phantoms are not only a bad mob because they're annoying and because they make your game worse than single player, but they actively remove from the multiplayer experience, unless you use commands, which you shouldn't have to do, and they actively remove from the elytra experience, making it significantly more annoying to repair something, making Minecraft worse than it would be without it. We voted wrong at Minecon 2017, and boy, you better believe the Phantom reminds me every single night. I'd say every day, but obviously it's a phantom. So with that said, the 68th worst mob is not actively removing from the game, but it does make me question its existence every single time I see it, because the bat is a cool idea. It was added in the scary update, the spooky scary, 1.4 update, and I kind of get that they were just going for this ambient mob that maybe would make things spooky. When you hear a bat screech, it has the tiniest bit of fear, but nowadays when you hear a bat screech, you're like, huh, that's a bat. That's the first time I've seen one of those in forever. The bat is an incredibly rare mob, and when you kill it, you get nothing. There is no bat wing drop or something that can actually improve the game, make a new potion. Nope, you kill the bat and it's gone and it's dead, and there is no real purpose to this mob. There are so many things they could have done with it, but they've done nothing, and it makes the game, again, it has one little feature that makes it not actively removing, but otherwise it's just a feature that exists in the game. Unlike the polar bear, which exists, and and admittedly, if you removed it tomorrow, most people wouldn't notice, but the polar bear is slightly more annoying than the bat because, it exists in the game and is mostly neutral until it has a cub nearby. Except whether it has a cub nearby or not seems to be a very buggy mechanic, and it's not even one that you can really work with too much. And the only reason it gets to be better than the bat is because it's got the same kind of annoying thing, except you can consistently find it in one place, and you can kill them to get fish if you really want to do it that way. But again, polar bears, super terrifying. Their behavior doesn't match the real world behavior. If you're curious, polar bears will just kill you. They are one of the most terrifying types of bears. I heard this phrase that's like, what to do with bears, because when you go hiking in America, it's a real fear that you might find bears. So if it's brown, lay down. If it's black, fight back. If it's white, good night. That is my life lesson that Minecraft won't teach you. But you know what Minecraft will teach you? COD is apparently not a very good fish. It's a big thing in the UK where I'm from, so I should love COD by all rights, fish and chips and all that. But, the lack of chips in Minecraft ruins it. And more seriously, COD is one of the worst mobs because they added fish as a mob to the game. And when they did that, they could have made COD more exciting in some way because you actively had to find it. But no, COD is just a slightly harder to find salmon because it spawns in weirder places that is just worse. COD is worse than salmon in every single way, both in what the end item does, but also in terms of where and how and etc. you find them. I think COD should not be worse salmon, but that's what it is. There are very few mobs where there is a directly better in every way comparison to it, but COD is one of those. Unlike, perhaps, the Wandering Trader, which... Again, it's so close to being something that's great. I really wanted this to be... when the Wandering Trader was first announced, it was such a cool idea. Did they keep the good idea going, though? The answer is no. I think you'll find, though, because the problem with the Wandering Trader is he only mostly trades things you wouldn't want. I think there is an edge case for like, oh yeah, if you're playing a weird survival map that doesn't have cacti, you can trade for him, but even then that's not desirable behavior actually. That seems like actually a problem. The Wandering Trader is theoretically a way to make certain things easier, but he spawns too frequently, he doesn't have great trades, and he's missing some things that could really make him better. There are so many trades that I've thought about in Minecraft that just don't exist, and it makes me sad. Unlike the next mob here, the turtle. So the turtle is a fun idea for a mob. It even gives you the little turtle helmet. They got all of the things right with a turtle, but then they gave it annoying breeding mechanics, which would be fine if like every mob in Minecraft breeded like it in real life. The turtle, you think that you're breeding it, and then it goes home to its home, desert, beach biome, and then it breeds over there. Which, it's fine, except it varies. It's so different to the rest of the game that it's frustrating. And then if you want to have a turtle farm or something, which you totally can do, the way they drop scutes is very random and arbitrary, and it doesn't feel like a fun type of farm. When you breed any other type of mob, you have direct results that make you feel good. The turtle just feels weird and inconsistent, and maybe this is the sign of where Minecraft's going, and people will get used to it, and it won't feel like that way in a while. But right now, the turtle is just a sign of fitting out of place in Minecraft, both for the art style. I mean, look at this thing compared to like a pufferfish or something. No spoiler as to where that is on the list. But like, when you look at the art style, it just looks out of place, but it also feels out of place, and it feels like, someone who had like super love for a turtle just programmed it without realizing how it would fit into Minecraft. I love the turtle, don't love how it works in the game. Next up, we've got the Drowned. The Drowned. You need it for tridents, and it's good for tridents, but it's bad in the sense that they can basically two-hit you, and they can spawn even during the daytime, kind of breaking one of the rules of Minecraft. Given that you can spawn on islands, given that you can spawn near rivers, without knowing about it, you can be two-hit. It's frustrating. They're not an all-round bad design, it's just their implementation is kind of bad. I would love to see a Drown be a great... having a zombie that sometimes can throw tridents is kind of a fun idea sometimes. Don't like the execution. However, something that is like kind of in the same wheelhouse in my opinion is the Vex. The Vex exists, it's a super tiny mob, it can be spawned by the Evoker, wow, it's so fun, except the Vex is so rare to encounter, and it doesn't have like particularly neat behaviors besides being kind of a weird little small thing that I feel like its job could have been done by one of the other tiny mobs in the game. The Vex is a mob that even putting it on this list I felt like, well, it's kind of a subsection of another mob, and if there is a mob in Minecraft that makes you go, is it even really its own mob? Then it's probably not doing its design right, unless that's what they want it to be. Unless they want the Vex to be a part of the Evoker, in which case they did their job perfectly. But if we're ranking it as a mob, the Vex is just questionable. They're cute, they fly, they're somewhat interesting, and if they existed in any way independent of the Evoker, I would find that interesting. Sadly, that's not where we are. Speaking of places we're not, slimes. They are such a fun idea when you first encounter them. They give you slime blocks, they give you sticky pistons, they give you what you want in the world, but they kind of fall short when it comes to the spawning mechanics, because their spawn mechanic being based on the chunks, and those chunks being the same everywhere across your world, at least on Bedrock, it varies by seed on Java, means that there are certain areas that will just spawn slimes without you having any idea why. I wish there was some logic or thing you could use for them, because I loved when they, when they made the slime, it spawns at like the full moon in swamps. That is fun. Waiting for the moon, great mechanic. Then making them spawn in every other chunk or whatever gets very confusing very fast. You can make slime farms, technically speaking, but I don't think that, they're one of the weirder mobs to make happen and to find, etc., etc. The fact that you either have too many slimes or too few slimes, to me, reeks of bad design. Like, I would love to see a mob that you spawned just the right amount of times, and also the fact that it can spawn attack multiple times per second, the fact that it splits and is just annoying to fight, is just another bit of icing on the cake as to why I don't love it so much. But you know what I also don't love so much? The Husk. The Husk is a husk of what the, I'm not going to make that joke. I'm going to resist it, okay? But the Husk is just a worse zombie. Every time I see them, I'm like, oh yeah, they added those mobs to the game. It is a zombie that it looks worse because it's got the weird deserty vibe, and it gives you the hunger effect, which is so minor that you don't even think about it most of the time. It's just the mildest of inconveniences when it hits you. I don't know why the Husk needs to exist or why it's the only zombie that spawns in deserts, but it doesn't give the deserts more of an interesting vibe. It's just like oh, that exists. And I'd like to see something unique about the Husk to make you go, oh, it's husks, we're in a desert, that's cool. But we don't really have that right now. But what we do have right now, against the will of every Minecraft player ever, is the Ghast. The Ghast is the scariest idea that I admit that I like the idea of. Like, you know, it's a fun, scary, terrifying mob that actually gets the Nether feeling like it is a scary place to be. The Nether feels like hell when Ghasts get there, and that's great, but the fireball knockback, trying to knock back a fireball to the Ghast, never feels good. On any platform I've ever played, I've never felt like I've solidly knocked it back. Sometimes it just explodes in your hand, etc, etc. That is an inconsistent mechanic, but also explosions don't feel good either, because when a Ghast fireball lights up the Nether, those Netherrack blocks stay lit until you put them out by hand, and going out to put them out by hand, by the way, is going to have more Ghast fireball you. Basically, they're a way of keeping the Nether always on fire, and they kind of discourage exploration in a little bit that way, in my opinion. I think that the explosions should be a temporary fire, not that that makes too much sense, and I think that they should be less able to destroy things, but maybe I'm just removing the point of the Ghasts. I'm not going to talk too much about my own feedback on these ideas. I just think that the Ghast is a great, scary mob that's just a little too annoying for me to put anywhere above it on this list. You know what? This is a great position, I think you'll find. So the 58th mob on my list has to be the Enderman. It was added at a time when Slender and Slenderman were at their absolute peak, so it made sense that they made a Minecraft version, and when you look at him, he teleports. It is genuinely terrifying when you first encounter an Enderman, and again, adding genuine terror to Minecraft is a great thing. There's a great design behind the audio visual of this mob, but what isn't greatly designed is the fact that if you want to beat Minecraft, you have to find this mob multiple times, at least a dozen or so, and if you want to find this mob, there used to be no way. There is the only way now is to find, you know, like, obviously you can find them just looking around randomly, but there used to be a very low spawn chance, making speedrunning frustrating, which obviously sucks me as a person. But even if you don't speedrun, just trying to get to the end was like, oh yeah, so what we'll just do is we'll spend a few hours looking aimlessly. Maybe that was what they wanted, but that's not good game design in my opinion. You should feel like you're actively doing something that helps, and the Enderman did not do that. Also, the reason they're so low here is because they break the fundamental cardinal sin of Minecraft, which is that your blocks that you place should not be moved around without your permission for the most part. That's why we don't have natural disasters. That's why we have very few limited ways to mass destroy blocks. But the Enderman says, nah, I'm going to pick up a key block in your house, even if it's got a block on it, and I'm just going to move it around somewhere else because I'm an Enderman and I don't care about this. Cardinal sin, not allowed, not okay. But you know what else is not okay? The way they ruined the Ocelot. I know that they feel like the cat and Ocelot should be separate mobs because you can't tame an Ocelot into a cat. You know, they wanted to make some environmental point, I guess, but I think that having a Ocelot in the game separate to the cat makes you question, so what does this thing do? And the answer is, this thing is the IBX Toy Cat skin. But more seriously, it's just a mob that you can make it trust you, and then I guess you can use it for creeper deflection, maybe, or something like that, or maybe it's cute for someone, but otherwise the Ocelot without the cat functionality is just a bizarre animal in Minecraft that, again, it almost feels as bad as the polar bear, but at least it doesn't attack you. Also, taming it is always annoying. Every time I try to tame an Ocelot, I just have to facepalm because it's like, why? Just let me tame you. Anyway, with that said, what else makes you want to tame it? The Hoglin. But the Hoglin cannot be tamed. So this was a fun enough mob idea, but in reality, it's just a very annoying, very aggressive mob that maybe because I played my ultra hard survival map where maybe they tried to wreck you a few times, and maybe a few people have been wrecked. Maybe they have a bad rep, but they just don't come up very often. You have to bring them into the game, and once you do, there's no point for them. So they're a kind of pointless mob in that way. They're not aggressively bad, but they're not any definition of the word good. But maybe they're not meant to be. Maybe they just exist on the side. Either way, though, that's why they get 56th on this list, unlike 55 here, the cave spider. Do I need to say more? Do I need to? I don't think I do. It's a spider, terrifying enough, but it fits through tiny gaps. They can fit through a half-slab gap, and you better believe that terrifies me more than anything else. Also, they poison you if you're not playing easy difficulty, so a poisonous spider that fits through I don't need to explain why I don't like this mob, but what I do need to explain is the skeleton. The skeleton is Minecraft's most annoying base mob. Sure, the zombie is just a zombie, but it's easy to get rid of. Sure, the spider is terrifying, but, you know, he's got weaknesses and how he moves, etc. You know, sure, the creeper can explode your stuff, but the skeleton can attack you from any distance. He can turn around instantly to do so, and, like, if you want to go and attack him, not using a ranged weapon, then he's going to hurt you every single time. He makes the entire point of I guess they. You know, we don't know the skeleton's gender. My apologies. The skeleton, though, is super frustrating in terms of, like when it attacks you, you get knocked back every single time, making it just one of the worst things to deal with. I don't like the skeleton. I think I think giving the skeleton a buff twice now has happened in Minecraft's history, and I think that was entirely unwarranted. Most annoying base mob by far. But you know what else is annoying? The squid. The squid is still Minecraft's best way to get ink sacs black dye, and you know how you find squids? Go to some water. The squid feels like a mob that they intended to add something more to, and then they just didn't. I don't know what. You punch squid, they make a little squid attack. That's a new feature. That was added in, because of the Bedrock version. Besides that, it was just a mob that floats around. Why does it exist? I don't know. Like, when it comes to Minecraft needing to revamp features and give them purpose, like they did with the Nether and the villagers, why not the squid? Can we have a squid update? I'd give you some quid. I guess that joke doesn't make sense if you don't know if the quid is what British people call pounds. Whatever, with that said, let's move in to the next one, because the stray, it's a skeleton, but it spawns in icy biomes. The reason I rank it higher than the skeleton, though, is because this mob variant is actually cool. When you look at the husk, you see the worst of what a mob variant can be. Same with the drowned, I would almost argue. When you look at the stray, you're like, oh, it's cool. Because it's a frosty biome, it slows you down. The theme matches the biome, matches the mob variant, and it makes you think like, oh, wouldn't it be cool if we had like a mountain skeleton? Would it be cool if we had like a nether skeleton, which we do, by the way, but anyway, with us, it makes you wonder like all these different things. That's actually cool. That's cool game design. I love when it was first added. I think the flavor's cool. You don't encounter them very often, so they're still fun, and I think they're annoying because it's a skeleton, and they slow you down, which arguably makes that worse, but at least it's something. But while we're talking about annoying, we have to talk about the granddaddy of annoying. The thing that will get you and will make you feel bad about it, the Elder Guardian. The Elder Guardian gives you the mining fatigue free effect, and I get why this is. It's to make sure you can't mine in to the, the ocean monument. Sure, that makes sense. But the fact that it will give you that effect, even if you milk bucket the effect away over and over again so you can't get past it, the fact that effect will happen within a certain square radius, even if it's not in the ocean monument, that makes it the most annoying mob that has ruined so many hours of Minecraft gameplay for me, which, sure, maybe I got myself into that by trapping one in my farm, but the fact is, the Elder Guardian is a weird mob. It can shoot through armor, which is annoying. It can do... Nothing about the Elder Guardian is like, oh, this is great game design, and the fact that it's the boss that most people don't even consider a Minecraft boss anymore, kind of shows how it's annoying, but not challenging. If it's challenging in a way that you feel good fighting, you're like, yeah, I did it, that's great. It has the choreographed spiking and not spiking, etc. But the piercing through armor, the magic ray beams that don't seem to add up, the mining fatigue effect, all of those things aren't fun or challenging. They are annoying, and that is bad mob design, and that's why it's so low on the list. Kind of like Tropical Fish, where I think the implementation is kind of interesting. There's like 4,000 variants. You gotta catch them all. I don't think anyone's actually done that as a survival project yet. I'd love to see it someday. I've seen a few people try. But the Tropical Fish, cool looking mob, find them in an interesting place, add something to the game, and then, oh yeah, you kill them and you end up with a clownfish looking thing. What do you do with the clownfish, Tropical Fish? You eat it and it's pretty awful. They're theoretically good for taming cats, but even then it's just like, oh, these are an interesting mob because they have different variations, but most people won't encounter them. So they fall in the neutral part of the spectrum where it's like, they add a little bit and then they don't take away anything. So I guess that puts them right here. Kind of like, honestly, the panda. The panda is, by the way, ever since I've been in America, I realized that we say panda with like an ER. It's a weird thing, like panda instead of panda. A panda, which sounds wrong. That's how it's spelled. Anyway, if we don't talk too much about the panda's spelling. So the panda bear, which isn't a bear, it's just called the panda. The panda is a very interesting mob because it's cute and it rolls. And who doesn't love seeing a rolling panda? But the problem is it was added in a phase where they're trying as hard as they could to actually give mobs a use. They realized that, oh yeah, certain mobs weren't being too useful. Maybe we could fix that. And then they just didn't really. It was a mob vote from the China edition or something. So maybe that's the justification for it being just kind of okay. And admittedly, they gave it mob variants. They've got a brown type, so it's fun to collect. But there's just no compelling reason to have a panda. Maybe that's their reason, so that you don't want to have them in captivity. Maybe they're making a grand point about animal safety, but I don't care about animal safety when I'm playing Minecraft. I go into Minecraft to escape animal safety, to murder cows, and you know what? When I can't murder a panda and actually be benefited anyway, that makes me sad. Not as sad as the Vindicator, though, because the Vindicator was the first, I guess, mob that they've added to Minecraft in a while that was challenging without being annoying, I'll admit that. But the flavor behind it feels a bit weak. Like, it's an illager. It's, you know, a villager, but they're kind of mean. But they're an illager that's like, oh yeah, I have an axe. That's my personality. The flavor behind it, the personality behind it isn't really there. The, you know, the drops are bizarre at best. You get iron axes sometimes, emeralds other, you know, times. The locations it spawns are weird. Everything about the Vindicator is just a bit off. Like, I'm not excited about it, but for the first time on the list, I'm not disappointed too much in every way. I'm just like, huh, yeah, that's there, I guess. Speaking of things that are there. Next up, we have the Snow Golem at 47. And my god, I did not realize how big of a list this was and how long it's going to take to go through. But what's important is that we order them all. By the end of the day, we will have a definitive list. So at 47 is the Snow Golem. And the reason it places at 47th is because it's a fun mob. It's a kind of companion. It is a friend. It just isn't a useful one. Like, I always think to myself, yeah, let's use a Snow Golem. Then I'm like, okay, realistically, there's an Iron Golem. It strikes me as a feature that was, like, made. It kind of has a complete circle, but then was outclassed, and then they forgot to come back and, like, give you a real reason to use the Snow Golem. It's great for snow farms, and, I guess it's fun looking and festive. It's got festivity too, but otherwise it's not so perfect. The only reason that I don't mark it lower for being kind of worthless besides one point is because you get to spawn it in yourself. You will never see a Snow Golem unless you're playing multiplayer and someone else has made it, or you have made it yourself. It's entirely avoidable, so it effectively doesn't exist if you don't like it, and that's what I kind of want from a bad mob. Kind of like the Endermite, which effectively doesn't exist until it does, and it's kind of like, oh, yeah, this is a thing. The Endermite is, again, something I like the idea of. It's a fun piece of game design. They nerfed the Enderpearl by giving you an Endermite design, and the Endermite spawns, I think it's every 20th Enderpearl. It's a 5%, it's not actually every 20th. But the Endermite is an interesting game design mechanic, in that it nerfed a item, but then they didn't really give it much of its own purpose. Again, what unique drops does it have? What unique flavor? Why does it need to exist in the game? And the answer is like, oh, it's purple and it spawns from the end. But it's like, but why? Where? What's with the, you know, give us some lore, give us some reason to kill it, give us any of this, and they just kind of didn't. Which I think is sad, because right now it's just a lame, bad bug. Speaking of lame, bad bugs, though, you know what could be worse than that? The pufferfish at number 45. Why is the pufferfish a badly designed mob? Well, it's not so clear that you'll get poisoned from being near it unless you know the pufferfish is like a, you know, don't go near that. So maybe it's meant to be a surprise to people, Minecraft players. To me, it's not choreographed too well. And then outside of that, it's just a piece. It's a fish that, you know, if you do get past that and you do manage to kill the fish, then it's a fish that you can eat, except it gives you the nausea effect. The nausea effect is cool, don't get me wrong, but there's no good reason outside of being wacky and liking to show dumb stuff off on YouTube, like apparently I do, to really want that nausea effect. I wish there was some benefit to it. I wish there was some great reason for the pufferfish to exist outside of poison traps. But again, most uses for the pufferfish are very, 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 very niche. And I guess the only reason I'm giving it anywhere on this list is because I like nausea. It looks fun and running around and I look drunk. Speaking of running around looking drunk, you know what I'd hate to find? Llamas. Llamas are... I'm sad, okay? Llamas, I petitioned them to be added to Minecraft forever. I was so excited when they announced them. Minecon Live 2016, whatever it was called at the time, just Minecon, I guess. I'm in California. Everyone's saying, hey, Toy Cat, they just announced llamas. I was so hyped. The update comes around. Llamas come out. Yeah, I get to finally tame llamas. What works with llamas? Oh, so you tame them by putting carpet on them. Weird. Then you sit on the llama. Can it actually go anywhere? No, you don't get to decide where the llama goes. You can just sit on it for whatever reason. Oh, what's the point of the llama then? Oh, you can put chests on them, and then you can, like, they'll follow each other. So if you can get one to follow you, they'll all follow you. Really, that's the one feature, is that they follow each other. Are you me? Are you me? Why? Why do you do this to my favorite mob? Why do you go through all the effort, all these years of hype and tease, and the joke becomes real, and then when the llama finally does come out, when the dream finally comes real, it becomes one of the most worthless mobs in the game. Honestly, the llama is just proof about a fun idea, a fun, unique mob, not given enough reason, not given a great reason to go there. Admittedly, it's one of the few things you can find only in extreme hills, and I think savannas too, but like otherwise it's just, why do you do this to me, Jeb? Why are you breaking my balls? And that's all I have to say. But what I also have to say is that the rabbit is something that you should enjoy, but also falls under the same category of like, oh, it's cute, and what does it do? Oh, you can kill it for its rabbit meat, which is not very useful. Or sometimes rabbit leather, which is not very useful because it just makes leather but slower. Rabbit leather is still one of the things that makes me question myself to this day. The only reason the rabbit gets to exist and gets to be fun is because they're cute, let's all give them that, and because they give you the rabbit's foot, which makes the potion of leaping. Do you ever need that? No, but at least it's unique. At least it's there. At least there is a pathway that takes the rabbit from being a kind of generic cute mob to being a generic cute mob with a reason. How often do you need that reason? Not that often, but at least let's give some real reasons for actual gameplay that normal people are ever going to pick, because to this day, I have not seen anyone use the llama. You know, we're talking. You might think we're talking about the rabbit now. No, we're talking about the llama. Why is it that the llama has no real use? Why does the rabbit get a use, but the llama doesn't? Why don't they have bat wings? Why don't they have llama tears? Why don't we have new potion ingredients with each of these mobs? I don't get it, and I'm kind of sad. Imagine you could have a llama potion that when you know, like a llama tier potion, whatever you want to call it, that gives you like more inventory slots temporarily. That would be fun. There we go. I came up with it on the spot. You're welcome, Mojang. Why'd you ruin the llama like that? Okay, we need to get through these. 42nd, magma cube. Magma cube, it's like a slime, but it's magma, spawns the nether, very frustrating. 41, silverfish. It's tiny, and it's very frustrating because 99% of the time you kill it with your diamond or your netherite sword, dies in one hit, it's gone forever. It's a mob that punishes you for not having a strong enough sword, because if you don't kill it with one hit, if you punch it, anything like that, it will spawn all of its friends in the nearby area, and then it becomes terrifying. I don't know if I like the fact that it's a mob that punishes you for being weak as opposed to, you know, like trying to challenge you for being strong, but I find it interesting. But also they look awful, and also the number of times that one has knocked me into lava, ruining a speedrun, gets them marked down anyway. So next up here we have the witch, as in, which way does Minecraft need to fix llamas? Okay, no, the witch. It's frustrating. They spawn, you know, spawning in witch huts, kind of fun. Spawning all over Minecraft, so, you know, sort of thing that made me go, okay, I guess that was a change they made. And now that every time you see a witch, you're like, oh, this is gonna be a frustrating fight. I like that they use potions. They teach you that, like, oh, you set them on fire, it uses fire resistance. If you hurt it, it drinks a healing potion. Like, it actually is like a potion-based mob. There's some kind of fun stuff going on there. But I think the overall witch fighting experience is more bad than good. But the reason I gave it 40th on the list is because of the fact that at least, you know, at least it doesn't spawn too often. At least there's fun mechanics where if lightning strikes a villager, you get there. And at least it's theoretically a way to get potions. So if you really need a potion and you can't brew one, there's the witch ready for you. 39th, we have the dolphin. Dolphin exists in the oceans and is another example of a mob that Minecraft clearly they wanted it because it's cute. Didn't come up with a real use case for it. I mean, you can feed it and then it will take you to structures, but not on Bedrock, so what's the deal with that? Next up here, we've got the wither skeletons. I think that the wither skeletons are a very fun variant of the skeleton in the sense that, like, oh yeah, it's taller and it's interesting, but I don't get why it has to be a variant of the skeleton at all. There's a lot of weird bugginess that comes from it technically being a skeleton, and I don't really like that. I think the withering effect is one of the worst things to come to Minecraft, except that time that Minecraft ruined the llamas. And yeah, the wither skeleton is of course something that I like and I think is a fun thing to fight, but the effect that comes with it, the fact that it's a skeleton variant, all these things make me kind of like torn on it, and that's why it's middle of the list. Could probably be higher. You know, maybe you think I should mark it higher and I should not let my biases get in the way, but this whole list isn't inherently biased. If you want to rate anything on the internet, you can try and be objective, sure, and that's a great idea to start, but you can never have anything that's truly objective because objectivity rarely exists. We have very few things that we fundamentally agree on as humans. Something we all can agree on, though, is that parrots are adorable, and in case you're not in agreement somehow, let me show you this. Is there any other Minecraft mob that can put a smile on your mob this way? Oh, this isn't the real video. Oh, they did it in the end. Okay, this is the wrong video I'm watching right now. It's very nice though. Anyway, you know, the parrot, objectively a terrible mob. I mean, it sits on your shoulders sometimes. What's that all about? But the reason it's at 37 is because that is one of the few things that makes me not want to end it all. Because why didn't they fix the llama? But you know what they did do? They added shulkers to the game. Shulkers, super interesting end game. Like, I think shulkers as an end content are very interesting because they levitate you, which would usually be a benefit. In the overworld, it sounds fun. In the end, they levitate you so much that they can genuinely kill you, and it's such a great example of using something good to do something bad. It's like a bit, you know, like when you first get levitated, you're like, oh, this is kind of fine, and then you drop and die, and you like, it's a mob that you have to learn how to fight, and that is a rare thing, and that's a thing that is great if you're, you know, having it protect something so rare like the shulker box. Shulker, great game design, kind of frustrating. Don't like the fact that they only spawn once. That is a key mess up in their behavior, in my opinion. But again, maybe something end lore, something end exploration, something you know, like only gets 36 from the list. Unlike the zombie, which is 35. The zombie is green, has blue trousers, is debatably a Steve after he turned into a zombie, and it's kind of interesting that they added the breaking down villager door things. It's interesting that they can, like, there's a spawn mechanic where they can spawn in friends, because I guess that's how zombies work. It's interesting that you have to watch your villagers for them. But otherwise, I think they deserve to go perfectly here in the middle of the list. Is 35 the middle of 1 to 69? I think it is, yeah. They deserve to go perfectly here in the middle of the list because they're exactly a middle of the road mob. If we think of 1 as being the best designed, 69 as being the worst designed, the zombie is a perfectly neutral mob that's like, yeah, Minecraft kind of needs them. Ideally not too many of them, but we need some mobs at this level. Every mob at this level or better is at least somewhat an interesting design. So at 34th, we've got the Guardian, of course, and the reason for that is because the Guardian by itself is a much more interesting design. It's just like, hey, it's a mob that kills you at distances, but also it makes, you know, it gave a real threat to the oceans because they kill squids, they kill other mobs that spawn in there. So there are these dead zones in the oceans around the Guardians. That's cool. They have laser beams, which is kind of weird and doesn't seem like it fits perfectly into Minecraft, which kind of knocks them down. They hit through armor, which is frustrating, but at the time, you know, Minecraft armor was just too powerful, so I understood why they were introduced in that way, and I think that by themselves, you know, if they were just like Guardians and big Guardians and chunky Guardians or whatever, I think you know, the temples for them, the ocean monuments would be much better. Speaking of things that could be much better, the Hoglin. The Hoglin is the first new mob in Minecraft for a while where I was like, yeah, this right here, it's, you know, I guess like kind of pacifish, but like this is a mob that you want to kill, and they kept things simple. You get pork chops, you get leather, both things are things you want, but because it's the nether, it's much harder to get that pork leather, and yeah, I really like that, and honestly. Things that I really like, honestly, though, are things like the zombie villager, because the zombie villager, just a zombie, right? But he looks kind of like a villager. They're a rare spawn chance, but they really get you thinking, like, you know, like when you find one of these guys, you're like, do I kill it or do I convert it? It's just a zombie with that mild increase, and I love that they spawn with different outfits. I think that's kind of a weird thing that I've had this build idea where I want to use that. I don't want to spoil it because someone else will do it, but I had an idea of like taking them all together, putting them in a place. It's a thing, but you know what else is a thing? 31 here, which is the Illusioner. So the Illusioner is a mob that isn't in Minecraft yet, but the reason it makes the list, unlike the zombie horse, unlike the giant and other removed or put to the side mobs, is because the Illusioner almost definitely is coming to Minecraft. We know that because it's in Minecraft Dungeons. We know that because they deliberately are not removing it. And we know that because they've always said they're going to be adding it. They said in 1.12, then they said in 1.13, then they said we'll add it in the future. And admittedly, it could never come to the game, but I think it will do. And based on its behaviors so far, it's kind of fun. It's ranged, mix of magic. What's not to love? It's interesting. Probably when it comes out, it'll be too annoying and we'd rate it down. But as we all know, when something doesn't exist yet, when something's not out, when we haven't experienced it, we love it so much more. We build up an image of things of our mind that we can kind of build on and can be perfect as we like. We can really make those things great. And, speaking of things that we can make great, the llama. Why don't we fix the llamas? They were so perfect in our mind. We had a thing. We were ready. We were so close to having a great mob that was cute, that could bring stuff around and actually was useful, and we blew it. Why did you do that, Minecraft? Why did you make us feel like we were responsible? Why? Why don't we just have some cute llamas in the game? So the 30th mob on the list is going to have to be the spider. I don't like spiders. I guess technically arachnophobe. Like, I am very freaked out by spiders every single time I see them. And so the spider goes at 30th. But because we have to fill time, or people will say that we're rushing through the list, one time I went to Australia, a place famous for its giant spiders. I didn't see any spiders, but I did when I was on the plane getting home. I was like itching my hair, and I found like loads of spiders just like, I don't know how they got in my hair or my head or whatever. But that was terrifying, and that's why you should be scared of the spider. Also, my first ever like mob spawner I found was a spider one, and it was so scary it like got me into Minecraft. So I guess we can't fault the spider for being scary, but I can say it's never going above number 30, unlike the fox, which is cute. And oh my god, they made another useless mob, didn't they? Okay, this one at least can bring you things and can spawn with things in its mouth, and it kills chickens, so it's something you gotta keep out of your coops, I guess you could say. The Pillager is something that will pillage your villages. It's part of the Village and Pillage update. He's a crossbow-wielding dude, which is bad, because who likes range attacks? What is this, a skeleton? But it's good, because he has some of the drops in Minecraft, which really fits the role personally. You get emeralds, great to spend with the dudes. It feels a bit weird that you like kill pillagers and then you get rewarded, but I guess it's like a bounty that you get. So yeah, the pillager is a really fun mob. You kill it, you get something that's useful for your village. Sure, great. It's annoying, but at least there's a high reward for the annoyingness, and at least it's pretty avoidable if you want it to be the 27th item on this list, by the way. It has to be the bee, because this was the first neutral mob they added to the game that they got something right with, because they teach you how to farm bees, whatever, it's an ecological thing, but at the same time, they add honey to the game. So if this was a part of the bigger update, this would be the cool feature in it. It was the only feature in the update, though, because when you farm bees, you get some honeycomb. You can use the honey to, as a tool that you drink yourself. You can use the honeycombs to make some blocks, or you can make honey blocks, which are genuinely a new mechanic in Minecraft. I don't think there's many ways to use them, but I like that they're trying to add those new mechanics again, and therefore the bee directly leads to a new mechanic, both in how you find them, they spawn weirdly, how you harvest them, that's entirely different, but it doesn't feel weird and out of the way like the turtles, and then, because you can still breed them just using flowers, etc, etc, but then also, it's a unique mechanic at each step in the process. I like that. I think that's great mob design. Kind of like the Piglin Brute. I think the Piglin Brute, my judgment is clouded because when it came to the game, it just felt like making the Piglin Bastions harder. But the Piglin Brute's fun enough. They give the Piglins, the Bastions, a unique mob to go after, and they make it so that you're not just immune from all the challenges if you wear gold. I like that. They make the Bastions a better place. What's not to love? You know what's not to love? The Wolf at 25. This is a mob I feel like most people would put right at the top of their lists. Yeah, who doesn't love dogs in Minecraft? They're so great. No, dogs in Minecraft aren't so great. They're super annoying. They follow you all the time. They attack and, basically, I run into so many issues with dogs. I have a bunch in my Minecraft world, but I never bring them with me anywhere. The only reason you bring a wolf with you somewhere, or a dog with you somewhere, is because you're role-playing. And sure, role-play all you like, but don't claim that it's a good mob because you get to role-play of something. I can role-play of the llama, but it doesn't mean the llama's a well-designed mob, does it? Speaking of well-designed mobs, controversial one here, I actually like the spider jockey. I think it's a really clever combination of just, hey, what if skeletons could spawn on spiders? And, you get the movement speed, the terrifying movement speed of a spider, you get the attacks of a skeleton, and you get a genuine challenge just from having two mobs combined. I like that. I think that's, you know, like if they're not adding too many mobs to the game, sticking two together, really great. I think the baby zombies on horses or cats have a similar effect where it's like, oh, it's faster than normal, and also it's got the same kind of terrifyingness. I think combining mobs like this is great, and maybe I'd hate it if there was too many other jockeys, but the spider jockey, great combination of mobs. Is it even its own mob? You could argue, but what you couldn't argue is that the blaze is a chill mob. Actually, yeah, that's because it's very hot. It's definitively not chill. If there was a cold blaze, we'd be talking. Cold blazes in the ice biomes. But today's list is not about my ideas what to do with the blaze. Instead, it's rating the blaze, and I think the blaze gets a solid thumbs up. It's a fun mob. It's got less health, but in exchange, it's fiery to the touch. It will hurt you if you touch it, or it touches you, and it fires fireballs at you, which is fun because it's the Nether. I do have issues with blazes and their implementation on Bedrock, but as far as the mob itself goes, you need to kill it to beat Minecraft. But in exchange, you know, like you can use snowballs from a distance, or you can go up close and attack it, or you can crossbow it, you can farm it in spawners, or you can find them naturally. You have so many choices of the blaze, and it makes me envious of what the Enderman could have been if they put that much thought into it. Blaze is a great hostile mob, one of the best in my opinion, and I love that because you can fire resistance from it, and you can whatever. It's great. I love it. Unlike the cat. Actually, no, I love the cat. I love cats. Who doesn't love cats? Cats are great. And they go above dogs because you know what? I'm a cat person. I'm saying it now. I know dogs are objectively better. Like, they love you. You don't have to love them. But maybe I like cats anyway. They make cute pictures. You ever wonder why all the cute pictures on the internet are of cats? It's because we love when cats do crazy stuff. When dogs do crazy stuff, it's like, yeah, you're trying to impress me. Cats don't have to impress anyone. And anyway, Minecraft is what we're trying to go for here. So the reason cats are rated so highly here is because they do bring you some fun things. They do, admittedly, just sit on things, which is very annoying. But they teach you what pet ownership is really like. It's give and it's take. And as they also don't like join you in combat, which makes them objectively better than the dog. Unlike the chicken won't join you in combat either. The chicken is a little too chicken to do that, if you will. Chicken's a fun mob, okay? It gives you feathers, makes some fletching happen, gives you raw chicken, which you can eat and get food poisoning from. What's not to love? Next up here, we got the Evoker. The Evoker is a great mob that makes me wish that I could choker the person who came up with the name. No, so the thing about the Evoker... this is getting worse and worse. You can tell as, like, this video is going on, my ability to give you objective, like, analysis is going down. But the reason I like the Evoker is because of the fact that it can spawn in those fun little spikes. That feels like a fun magic attack. It feels like a scary mob to be attacking. That's why they made it a boss in Minecraft Dungeons. The fact that it spawns the Vexes as well. The fact that it gives you one of Minecraft's best items in exchange. It's a mini-boss with a mini-boss reward. And I really like the way that works. Personally, I think them only spawning Willow Mansions was a bad idea. I think now that they spawn in raids and they're farmable, that's gone too far the other way. But besides the preciseness specifics, I think it's a fun mob. I think it's an interesting mob to fight every single time that I do. So number 19 is the Wither. The Wither is an incredible boss in Minecraft. Sure, it's destructive. Sure, the work going into it can feel a bit weird and arbitrary with the drops or whatever, making it kind of hard to speedrun. But as far as the mob design itself, it is a terrifying, most powerful boss in Minecraft. And yeah, I wish we could make something that was like even bigger than this. But for now, having a most terrifying mob in Minecraft, it's great. So at number 18, we have the Zombie Horse. The Zombie Horse doesn't exist yet, so I get to project all my thoughts and feelings onto it. But I love the Zombie Horse as an idea because it looks like it's a horse that is undead. So it has a lot of anti-effects. When you're harming all of your enemies, you can heal your horse. Some dumb stuff like that. I think the Zombie Horse is a fun idea right now. I'm not going to rate it too much higher because I don't want to have a theoretical mob being at the top of the list. But the Zombie Horse, pretty darn fun. Kind of like the Ravager. The Ravager was another new hostile mob that they added that actually was fun and interesting. You kill it, you get a saddle, which is great. That's a fun little exchange. But to kill it, you need to go for a lot of work because it's big, it knocks back weird, it has bizarre attacks, it can destroy blocks, etc. The way the Ravager works is super interesting. Crops as well. It's a very bizarre mob, and it actually can ravage a village, which is fun. You need to build defenses because this thing will mess up your village otherwise. That's fun game mechanics in my opinion. Unlike the sheep, do you know what the sheep is? The sheep is a mob that I can't tell you a peep about because if I did, then my editor would put a beep above the words that I said. because it's that good. Anyway, with that said, the mule is a really bizarre combination of the horse and the donkey. I admit that it's like objectively better in some ways, but I never like get excited about the mule. I'm always like, yeah, it's donkeys because they're like chests on wheels that you can breed together, or it's horses because you go fast. I think that middle way between them, I don't know why, but I'm never excited to use them. And as a result, mule is at 15, unlike the pig, which is at 14. You can ride pigs. Also, you can kill them for meat, but mostly you can ride them. You put a carrot on them, they ride around. It's great. Who doesn't love the pig? The only thing better than the pig is the piglin, because you can barter with it. Give them gold, they give you stuff back. I think the bartering mechanic is super fun by itself. I think the piglin mechanic, if like they trust you if you wear gold, they don't trust you if you don't, that's also kind of fun. It makes you want to mix up your armor and wear some gold instead of just all netherite or diamond. Piglin is fun, and for the first time actually rewards diversity of outfits. Something we maybe see more of in the future. Number 12 is the Enderdragon. I love the Enderdragon fight. I think it's a really intense thing. I think it's pretty well designed in terms of the lore aspect, but in terms of the actual game mechanics, it just doesn't. She doesn't telegraph her attacks well enough. It's not very clear or intuitive to a new player how to do things, in my opinion. And as a result, the Enderdragon is something that I wish could be improved, kind of like other mobs in the game. But you know what else could be improved? The Iron Golem. The Iron Golem is a mob, spawns in, defends you super well. It now spawns in villages and defends them too. In my opinion though, making it spawn in villages was one of the biggest mistakes in Minecraft, because now the Iron Golem has gone from this super cool hench mob to being just a source of iron. People see the Iron Golem as just a, like a way to get some iron, and that's fine for the one that spawns in villages. Now it's like a risky way to get some iron that way. But the Iron Golem's gone from this like defending mob to this kind of role as being a way to get iron, which only I hate. Most people love it. I can't actually mark it down for that. And as a result, it is a very interesting, very high reward mob that kind of functions like either a defender or a mini boss or a farm mechanic. It pulls off a trifecta in a way that I can't fault, except I can fault it. It goes 11th. Yeah, it's not my top 10. What are you going to do about it, internet? What are you going to do about it? Because number 10 is the horse. Horses are one of Minecraft's best improvements. Horses are one of the, the first mobs they had in a while that were genuinely new and exciting. To this day, horses feel new, exciting, and you're like, yeah, I can ride horses. They feel like a breath of fresh air in such a great way, and again, the fact that any mob can do that is great. You ride horses, they're wonderful, you can feed them, tame them, you can try and get the best one. Again, the fact that it's exciting on the low end, but also has the high end thing of like, can you breed the fastest horse? It's kind of hard, you have to do a lot of breeding pairs and testing. That is objectively cool, that is objectively fun, and it's one of the best mobs in Minecraft. I think a lot of people might even put it as their best mob, but I do like the zombified piglin. The reason I like the zombified piglin is because, or this is the zombie pigman, that's how you should know it, because the zombie pigman is a scary mob, and it's scary without you ever needing to attack it. The zombie pigman looks terrifying, and you know if you ever hit one, how much of a trouble it causes you. So without ever hitting you, without ever threatening you, without ever doing anything besides existing, the zombified piglin is scary, and I like game design that like builds the fear in your mind. Minecraft, when you play a video game of any type, most of the game is happening in your brain. You might not think that. You might think you're interacting with the computer. No, it's all about what it's doing to your brain, and that if you can terrify people without needing to terrify them, that is great. Number 8 here is the donkey. The donkey is the horse's like weird chest-carrying cousin, but the fact that you can have like movable storage was a huge innovation. Just because people don't use it, it doesn't mean it's not great. And they made great strides forwards with the game, kind of like the Strider did. The Strider is adorable. Look at this guy. Look at this guy's face. He's so adorable. I love him so much. But as well as just being super adorable, the Strider is a way to traverse the Nether lava. It is balanced so you don't have to feel like you have to do it, but it exists in a way that allows you to explore the Nether in a way you've never done before. I even think that there's a lot of, I love to explore this and do this sometime. I think there's enough benefit to the Strider that you might want to make some, lava pathways specifically so you can ride through him with him in the Nether, because it's not that hard to make a lava pathway. You can easily just kind of modify your existing Nether. I think that the Strider is so cute, and I think he adds a new mechanic. And what is bad about the Strider? Nothing is bad about the Strider, and if you say anything otherwise, I will fight you. Just like how I'm going to fight the person who made the llama. Bad. Why? Why would you add a llama to the game if you didn't have a mechanic plan for him? Why would you do that to us, Jeb? Why would you make it so that we have our dreams, but then they're worthless? Are you trying to tell an entire generation of people that if you actually chase your dreams and if you actually find them, they're going to be worthless? Because that's what it feels like, unlike the skeleton horse. Because the skeleton horse is a fun mob. They spawn randomly. It feels kind of random, but it's always fun because of just how rare it really is. And, sure, the skeleton trap, it's a whole scary thing, but killing the skeleton trap dudes, killing those little dudes, will reward you with their horses. Their horses, at least on Bedrock, I know there's some slight differences, are great because they require no taming, they require no saddle, and unlike the regular horses, you can swim them at the bottom of the ocean. So this is by and large not that useful because eventually you will drown, but getting through rivers, skeleton horse. Going under oceans, if it's a short enough ocean or you have a watering potion, skeleton horse. The skeleton horse is such a cool mechanic because of that underwater thing, and it's such a cool mechanic because it's rare, and that rare mechanic makes you even more want a rare and a good one. If you have a good skeleton horse, you have done Minecraft right. And there's something I love about that personally. Kind of like how I love the salmon. Salmon spawn in 3 varieties, big, small, medium. I like that personally. You kill the salmon, you get, some salmon, and you get some bones. That's great. Salmon are a great tasty mob that if you smoke, it's something that you could eat. I think more mobs should have this size variance. I think it's such a small feature that makes this, the salmon, as the one mob of the salmon, justifies them making fish for all of them. If there was no giant salmon mobs, if there was no tiny salmon mobs, etc., I think all fish would be pointless and would make you mad. But the salmon makes the entire category justifiable, kind of like the cow. The cow justifies the mob farm so much. When we play Minecraft, we're all cattle ranchers, we're all saying yeehaw and throwing our lassos, because the great thing about the cow is it gives you two resources. One is the best type of meat in terms of the hunger to saturation ratio, etc., etc. It's a really great meat that if you cook it up, you get cooked beef or steak if you're playing Java Edition. Who doesn't love that? But you also get leather. Leather makes leather armor, sure. Leather also can be used to make books. Farming reasons, great as well. Leather can do so many different things, as well as being, like this armor thing, as well as being used in all these recipes. And I love the fact that the cow is so simple to farm. Just give them some wheat and they'll go together. The cow is so simple to breed that there are even memes about it. Hey, wouldn't it be funny if, we were both Minecraft cows and someone fed us wheat? Ha 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 ha. It's funny because we would go into love mode and we would produce a smaller cow that looks exactly like both of us. But, and with that said, let's move into the villager, the 3rd best mob in Minecraft. And the reason why is because the villager used to be kind of close to pointless, right? You spawn in a village, villagers exist, and they have their little villages, and then what? Then they added village trading, and it was kind of unique. Nowadays, villager trading is like this whole game within a game. Can you get a villager to max level? If so, you get a reward of a really fun trade. Sometimes that trade is just like golden carrots or something. Sometimes that trade is something you really, really want, like an enchanted, diamond chestplate, or, even better things, enchanted diamond pickaxes. There are really, really, really great rewards for getting to the end of those villages, and they make villagers feel like an entire game mechanic. Do you settle down on the plains and live by yourself, or do you live in a village in society? I love that Minecraft kind of gives you that, do you live in a city surrounded by other people, or do you live out in the raw? The fact that they can match that into Minecraft somehow is incredible. Villagers are mwah. I love them so much. But you know what else I love so much? The creeper. Don't you just want to give this guy a big hug? I think the creeper is one of the best accidents in Minecraft's history. I think Minecraft would be a notably worse game without them, because the creeper gives you a level of fear that you can't really describe. I know they make the cardinal sin in Minecraft and they explode, they break blocks, etc. But the fact that they explode, the fact that they break the blocks, and the fact that you really want to avoid them gives you something to always be terrified for. You're always listening out for the creepers when you're in a dangerous place. You're always trying to torch up your world to not have creepers spawn in, because zombies, whatever they're, skeletons, they're annoying but you can kill them. Spiders, same thing. Creepers you are genuinely scared of no matter how far you progress in terms of your gear, because your stuff is always vulnerable. Your house is always at risk of exploding, and that is a super interesting mechanic in my opinion. Also, they're cute. Don't you want to give these guys a hug? Kind of like how you might want to give the llamas a hug, except if you do give the llamas a hug, there's not going to be any point to it because the llamas don't have a fundamental point to exist. Their whole point is you make caravans with them. What is that? That's not a fun game mechanic that fundamentally redesigns Minecraft. Do you know how different Minecraft would be if they didn't have llamas in there? They would be exactly the same. It would be a game that functions exactly how it does right now. It would be this, it would be, no one would know the difference, is what I'm trying to say right here, and that is a fundamental shame. Why can't we redesign the llama? I wish we could, but we can't. Speaking of which, the mushroom is a great design mob that we don't need to redesign in the slightest. I love the mushroom. It's a cow, and it's got the little red mushrooms on, and you can milk it if you want to get some mushroom stew. Pretty great source of food that's unlimited, or if you really want, you know, like it's, by the way, it's adorable too. I mentioned that. Also, it spawns in its own unique islands. Every single part of the mushroom, by accident or on purpose, is great and adorable and feels like a secret, and you get rewarded for that secret. It's not just a secret like, oh, you find out the parrots dance and they look cute. No, mushrooms are cute to look at. They're a source for limited food. You can turn them into cows if you ever do want to, or you can breed them as mushrooms and get a little baby mushroom. Yeah, that's right, there's adorable baby mushrooms. Also, strike them with lightning, you find the opposite color off them. Also, when you feed those mushrooms something, you can get suspicious stew, which sometimes is one of the best sources of food in the game. There are so many layers to the mushroom, and I love it so much. I think the mushroom is a golden standard of what Minecraft mobs could be. It's almost why I regret that we're not adding the moo bloom to the game, right? Like, the moo bloom could have been so cool, but isn't. It's no mushroom, and it's also no llama, because if it was a llama, then we would have to put our feelings to bed. And you know what? That's the thing you gotta do. Ranking things from top to bottom, it's fun, but in the end, the thing that's more important is having a good time. What if really the mob ranking list was the friends that we made along the way? What if it's not about whether the cave spider is better than the witch, or whether the mushroom is better than the villager? What if instead Minecraft is really a question about finding ourselves and finding the hate to, you know, like find and finding the hate inside us that we really need if we're gonna make sure that the llama can never be made that bad again. Maybe that's what it's really about. Anyway, with that said, I hope you'll enjoy this video. If you'd like to see me rank more things in Minecraft, let me know, and then I won't do it because it's a terrible idea. That'd be me being clever, right? That's not me making the problem any worse. But you know what is me making the problem any worse? Telling you to subscribe with notifications turned on so you can see more of these videos daily on your homepage. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Goodbye.